Hello.
Hello, hello. Hey, Robin, how you doing? Hey,
Good.
Peter.
How are you?
Good, good. And Robin, well, this is streaming now, so this will be embarrassing for me, but I did not recognize you at the play date.
Oh, that's fine.
No. It's not fine. So here's the story. You absolutely interacted with me and engaged with me in a great way. Met your husband, I believe,
Yes.
right? Your
Yep.
kids were there, and I had no idea who you were, and I did the usual like spies are us, just talking with people type
Right.
banter.
Perfect.
And then afterwards he texted me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was Robin. So first of all, I'm very sorry. It was authentic banter, even though I didn't realize who I was bantering with.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Okay.
I think it's so hard when we see people at pickup or
Yeah, I
at the
know, and
play
this is
dates. It's
all it
like
is.
sunglasses and masks and like who's who. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
good luck to all of us ever
No.
recognizing each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for being so kind with that assessment.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I'm sure I've done similar with other parents in the same fashion of like, I've met them, I should remember their name, and it's hard to remember everybody's name all the time and like who's who.
Yeah, but your name I know. But
All
anyway, but
good.
I guess the cool thing for me was it's kind of like what does NBC do whenever they're doing reruns? It's new to you. So you were new to me again. So it was like a
It's
whole nother
perfect. Yeah,
yeah. Round two of meeting.
I love it. Hey, I will capture notes today if that's helpful for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, that would
Yep.
be great. Thank you.
You bet.
And we are at 33. Welcome everybody who is on. Let's see who is number 7. Let me just bring up my list. Oh, Tom, welcome, Tom. Um, we're just going to hold for a couple minutes. Diego is joining today, right, Brianna?
Sorry. Yes, he is, but don't hold your breath for him because
Okay.
anyways, there's some other things happening and so I told him I got it if it doesn't work out for
Okay.
him to get on. So, he'll probably just be a few minutes late or maybe it will be that he's not here.
Okay. No, all good. And then Justin isn't here yet, and he's got the treasurer report. Um.
I just
So
I threw the Zoom link on the Facebook group just now in case there's anybody that's sort of looking for it.
okay.
I meant to do that earlier and the day happened.
Yeah. All good. All good. Yep. And anyway, the event link goes live, so people who follow the event could certainly do it through that. It is kind of a weird thing, but it's in a way it's a good way too because it prevents trollers from Zoom bombing us with their automated link grabbers. But
No
and I'm not
idea what you mean by that, but it sounds like a good thing. So I don't think we
we
want,
Zoom
Yeah,
you know,
bombers.
Zoom
people could
bombers.
just show up in your meeting
Yeah.
that you didn't want to be there and send you things that you didn't want to see.
Yes, yeah. We got, if anyone, I'm not sure if anyone here, well, Brianna, you were here for it, or you're not. We got Zoom bombed in the early days of
hmm
pandemic. And we were lucky enough, first of all, that nothing was too inappropriate. And I was able to recognize it right away. But there was very much afterwards, like, oh, what just happened? What was all that?
Yeah, I think I just missed that meeting or I had just been coming back in, but I remember Diego telling me about it.
Yeah, so after that meeting, I stopped posting the link more than a day before to a public chat. But then Facebook then started doing the thing where they were hiding the link behind a thing and activating it. So that then became a little easier. So I guess that's a good thing for Facebook in spite of everything else. All right. So enough of that banter. And for anyone who was on the call earlier, that's a joke to you. For everyone else, you're just going to have to watch the recording to figure out what that joke was about. Um, but welcome to today's PTO, February PTO. Welcome, welcome, everybody. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share this screen. And so here is the title page, which is really not that important. Here's the overview of today. I think it's fewer items than in past, but I think some of these items are going to have broader discussions. I really did want to leave room for broader discussion. And so just for the sake of everyone that's watching online, if we wouldn't mind just spinning through our welcomes and intros, and I'll go first. I'm called Bancroft PTO, aka VPAL. I'm the president. I've got a second grader at Bancroft. And I'm going to throw to Brianna. You're next to me.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Brianna Nichols. I'm the assistant principal at Bancroft. I have no children who attend Bancroft. I have one who attends Minneapolis Public Schools and another who's still in daycare. So I will pass it to Robin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Anderson. I've got a third grader and a first grader, and happy to be here tonight. I'll look to Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. Lisa Hartman, and I am the DS and also work with math for our school. I have 4 kiddos, and so it's kind of busy, but they keep me hopping. But none of them attend Bancroft right now. Okay, so I am going to send it on to, how about Tana?
Hi, I'm Tana. I have a second grader at Bancroft, and I'm going to send it over to Peter.
Hey there. Yeah, I'm Peter, and I have 2 third graders at Bancroft. Oh, and how about Justin?
Thanks, Peter. I'm Justin. I'm the PTO treasurer. I have a third grader as well at Bancroft, and I will throw to the principal.
Thank you, Justin. I'm Diego De Paz. That's me right now. I'm Diego De Paz, and I'm the principal at Bancroft. I have a 4th grader and 2 first graders, and they are actually upstairs by themselves. So I may be in and out of this meeting a couple times. Hopefully they're finishing dinner and they should be good, but happy to be here and happy to see all of you. And I will pass it over to Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I do communications for the PTO, and I have a first grader at Bancroft and a toddler at home that may come and join us. And I like the artwork behind you, Diego. I will pass it to Tom.
And Tom was doing dishes. Let's see if he's...
I can stop for a sec. I'm Tom Harmon. I am the father of the kindergartner. I think that's it.
Great. Thank you, Tom. It's cookie clean. Thank you, everybody. Okay, welcome. So we're going to go to board reports. And Robin, I don't think there's anything new in terms of funding requests from faculty and staff. Yep. So we'll go to Justin, and I took a couple of your highlights here, and I'll open the page if you want to give us anything, whatever you've prepared.
There really isn't much to report. We did we funded a couple things from last meeting through the e-board, and those are mainly staff requests and the January play date. So those all went well. Everything was good there. My meeting with Sue Francis is still pending, so we should get that probably taken care of in the next month or so. And that's regarding separating the lodge funds from other PTO funds.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you. One item I just wanted to bring up for just general, not even discussion necessarily. It's a wondering, a pondering I'm having, and that's how Bancroft stands in terms of its liquidity. Not liquidity, that's the right word. Its financial standing vis-a-vis other schools. And in looking at our numbers, our spreadsheet here that Justin prepares every month, we're in a solid place, and even with regards to separating out Masonic funds from just general fundraising funds because of our school community's performance during readathon, we are in a particularly healthy place. And I bring up the question or the discussion or the pondering, mostly just to get a sense of how we stand compared to other schools, and and in a way that I wouldn't want to say that we're necessarily amassing more than we should be using or spending more that we should be spending, but I think it's just worth a question given where we are. Should we be doing more? Could we be doing more? Should we be more responsible? What would future PTOs sort of need to consider? I think this PTO is going to be leaving the next PTO in an okay place, and I wanted to have that out there. Peter, you're on. I'm going to call on you only because I'm wondering from You're coming from another school from Northrop, and you were active there. I don't know if you are privy to financial standings of PTO over there, but do you have an opinion on the matter? And then Diego and Brianna, I just wonder because of your institutional knowledge, Lisa also because of your longevity at the school, whether you have an inkling as to where we ought to be relative to the rest of our counterparts. Peter, I'll go to you first, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. First, let me just say that whenever I get called on to talk about Northrop stuff, I'm happy to do that. But I just want to say I love being at Bancroft. We love being at Bancroft. So we're very, I don't ever bring up anything from Northrop as like, oh, at Northrop, we blah, blah, blah. But just that's my,
No,
I have another experience there. And so if that's helpful in any way, I'm happy to share it.
Absolutely. I don't mean
I just
to
wanted to
single
be
you
clear
out.
that.
No, absolutely. I don't mean to single you out, but
No.
I also do. So I mean, but I hear you.
No. Yeah, I just want everyone to know that we love Bancroft.
Yep.
And I don't know anything about the PTO at Northrop.
No, that's great. No, that's great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Diego, Lisa, or Brianna, if you wouldn't mind just lending any pearls based on the fact that you've been at Bancroft certainly longer than I have, and maybe have a better sense of what the ups and downs are financially, and particularly when it comes to what's expected of a PTO's financial status in Minneapolis.
I can just throw a couple pieces in there. And I think first, thank you, Peter, for your support of Bancroft School. I appreciate that. It's really hard to compare school to school because there's just so many differing needs and different demographics. And so I can't really say where we are compared to a Northrop or compared to a Falwell or compared to a Wyndham or a Burroughs. It's really difficult to say where we should be. And I think where we are is where we should be because the PTO is really the will of the families and the caregivers and what they want to donate and what they can donate. I know that we are standing in a pretty good position from where I'm sitting because of historically, we did save a significant amount of money on I believe it was a CD that was supposed to go towards the playground. And then we had the playground equipment that was actually part of our construction budget. And so then that CD was cashed in when it came to maturity or, all the bank terms. And so that was a big increase in our funding. We've also historically been, when I started, we were at 85% free and reduced lunch. And so with that brings some, financial needs in our families and at times not the super ability to donate a lot of money or to support the school in ways that can be supported financially. And so now we're half of that. We're at about 47, 48% free and reduced. So I think with that comes a little more ability, I guess, to lack of a better word, to do some of these fundraisers. I mean, we just saw the readathon. It was our greatest number that we've had since I've been at Bancroft. And I believe since Lisa's been at Bancroft in the 10 plus years that she's been here. And so I think there's just a different ability to fundraise as far as a community and as far as a PTO. Mm-hmm. So I will say it's really difficult for me to sit here and compare apples and oranges. I mean, I can tell you what my kids' school's at, but they're also in a very different place than, they're in a suburb and Robbinsdale, and their school has 700 plus kids. And so it's just a very different thing. So I can say, yep, they're in, six figures with their budgets. We're not, but you can't compare those two schools. And so I think that's kind of where I'm at with that piece. And,
right.
And Lisa and Brianna, I don't know if you want to throw anything in either.
No, I don't. I really haven't. Yep, that's it. I'll leave it at that.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. And that's a great perspective. I'll close out this discussion really in just saying I wanted to bring up the idea of uh, could we be doing more? Should we be doing more? What is our responsibility as a PTO that's happens to be sitting on a fund that's particularly healthy in terms of the community that we have in front of us now and for the future PTO and the community that's to come, right? And we are about to head into what has historically been one of our strongest fundraisers, and that's a spring plant sale. And I just wanted to make sure to have the discussion now that we're not necessarily amassing for the sake of amassing, and that perhaps we have the privilege of being able to do a little more than maybe what we normally had been able to do historically. Um, I think what I will spend some of my time on this coming month is to just reach out to the other schools' PTOs officially and just sort of share the comment and just ask, where are you at? How are you doing? And how do you sort of tackle this notion of activity and responsibility and that kind of thing? And so, yeah, that's pretty much where my mind was with this. Any other comments regarding it or discussion about it?
I mean, I'll just say I'm not totally familiar with all of it, but I know that there's conversations about the idea of a district-wide PTO, so that there's some balancing between schools that do have more access to that fundraising than schools that don't. But I'm not sure where things are at with that or but I mean, that's just something to throw out there, that's a conversation that's happening among some PTOs, I believe.
Yep. No, thank you for raising that here. I appreciate getting that into the record. Thank you, Peter. Justin, I think you're trying to unmute. Yep.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Peter was saying too, in a way, we know parents from other schools in MPS, in particular boroughs, which happens to be a particularly well-funded PTA. When they do readathon, they generally take in about 90 grand every year, and that's just their one fundraiser. So they have really a ton of money that they can buy just about whatever they want. I think they bought one year, they purchased cross-country skis and equipment for kids to use for gym class, so they could go and learn to cross-country ski. So, I mean, I think those are the kind of inequities that are sort of, I guess, urging the district to reconsider how PTO is funded and how it's done. We are, as you say, I think, in a pretty good position vis-a-vis what we have, particularly in terms of what our historical expenditures have been. We typically spend about as much money as we take in any given year. And just to build upon what Diego was saying, that CD coming to maturity was a pretty good chunk of what we have in the bank right now. That's roughly 50,000, I would say, for the PTO's money. But I think we've also done a lot more in previous years too, in terms of funding things, because COVID has changed all that, right? So there isn't as much opportunity to do the things. And I think Bancroft historically has kind of leaned towards funding the type of things that are sort of educationally focused. There are some other ones, and Diego, maybe you can speak to the bikes for kids. I think that's a separate thing, but we could do things like that. We just have to be creative about it. What would be a great thing to sort of address inequities that we see in our student body? And maybe there's less of that now with the CDD. There's less of maybe it's more of a homogenous student body. But there might be still other things that we can find that, there's a need there, and or, even to just encourage additional things that are educational and participatory that can be offered to all the grades, and or at least something that can be offered to all the grades that we could then fund. But yeah, we have plenty of money, I think, in terms of historically what we've been wanting to fund. So
Great. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate this. I think one of the things from last December that we haven't tackled as a group, and I don't know if staff has had the wherewithal to tackle yet, but a school-wide survey, and it has been on the back of my mind how PTO could piggyback on a school-wide survey if there is going to be one. And I know that's all in past years was pinged or pegged to the roller derby, or not roller derby. That'd be great if it was a roller derby, roller skating, which doesn't exist any longer. So having said that, so I'm just gonna, I think, I don't want to hold up too much time on this. I think is a lot of room for discussion. There are ideas out there, and I just wanted to get it on record that PTO still has an interest in participating in some kind of school-wide survey, if one is going to be occurring this quarter, this third quarter that we're in. And then that might give us the ability to sort of poll our constituents. What's of interest? What are the inequities? We'll bring in some information we get from other schools about how they tackle the same kind of question, and then maybe we could sort of have an informed action moving forward. Okay, thank you. And this is a nice transition actually into principals update. So Diego, I know I typically don't have you this high on the agenda, but I wanted to give you more time because I think I didn't really treat you very well the last meeting. And so you get a little more time now.
That's all right. I think I was last, and I was right up against the 7 o'clock bell. So
you were, and you were almost one of those callers. I think 29, 30, 30, 30.
Yep. No, it was good. It was good. Yeah, and you know, this time around, I don't really have a ton of updates. I mean, I think the biggest one is we're about a little over a week now removed from our 2-week spell in online learning. And so the entire district shifted to online learning from home. We did have the option if families were not able to support their students at home to have students come into the building. And so most of our teachers were there. Brianna and I were there every day, and our ESPs. And so I do want to shout out our ESPs who were there every day supporting the kids who were in person. We had anywhere from 20 to 27, I think was our highest day that we had in person. So every day we had about 20 to 27 kids. We split them up into classrooms in different grade levels. So it was the kinders were together, the high fivers were by themselves, and then the first and second graders were together, and our third, fourth, and fifth graders. And we tried to, you know, we know that online learning is difficult. So we tried to break it up for them and give them some snacks and give them little break times. And we tried to get outside as much as possible. And then it got frigidly cold. So we tried to just manage that as best we could. So we want to shout out our ESPs for the work that they did in the building with our kids, and also to the parents who are at home with their kids. And so I know it's never easy. My kids were here at home also learning. My wife is a teacher, and she was working from home and trying to be a teacher and also a mom to 3 kids that were in distance learning. And so I know it's not easy for parents either. So we do appreciate, you know, that having that flexibility and that grace, and hopefully it went well. I think right now we're in a much better place than we were those 2 weeks. At our highest point, we had 17 staff members out and 150 kids out. And so for us at Bancroft, it was kind of a much needed, a little bit of reprieve to kind of catch our breath and get staff healthy and get kids healthy. And today I think we had, you know, this week we've had like 2 people out. And the kids now is down under 100 again, you know, back to the 80 kids that it usually is. And so I think it definitely helped our case, and we're able to operate at a much easier level. I don't know what words I was looking for, but it's a much easier now. And instead of trying to make up the 17 staff members and the 150 kids that were missing each day. So I'm glad that happened. We are back in person. And so I know teachers are working hard to reconnect with kids, you know, after a 2-week break, you know, after we had our winter break, just relearning or redoing our rituals and routines, just reconnecting with all of our essential agreements. And just those pieces are kind of the big ones that were happened last week. And then this week, of course, is our second week back. I'll let Brianna talk about the caregiver and community equity group piece that's coming up, but just some calendar updates. It is African American or Black History Month, and we have African American Family Involvement Day. We've set aside February 25th to have some events happening on that day. Some other dates that we have coming up are February 21st is no school. It's President's Day, and then the 22nd is also no school, but we have conferences. And so teachers will be reaching out to schedule conferences with families. We're going to have a half-day conference day, and we also will have a nighttime conference to do our student-led conferences that we've traditionally done here at Bancroft. And so our hope then is to connect with all families on a night in March. I think it's set aside as March, I'll probably say it wrong, but I think it's March 24th that we've set aside to have our student-led conferences. And so that's something that we've historically done at our school, where the kids kind of lead the families, their families, through their learning, highlighting some of the pieces that they want to highlight, talking about their units of inquiry, and like it's titled, our student-led conference night. PTO is, maybe VPAL will talk about this later, but we're also PTO is sponsoring a book exchange. So we have that coming up on the 24th of February. And also that night we'll have our site council meeting because February is budget time. And so VPAL is talking about a survey. We are going to put together a survey. We've already done with our staff to gather budget priorities for the coming school year. And so we want to get our parent and caregiver input on our budget priorities. We're scheduled to get our budget on February 14th. So happy Valentine's Day to me and Brianna with our budget on that day. And then I do not anticipate any major changes as we had last year. I think I've said this a few times. We had to cut $1.9 million out of our budget. And so that led to some significant staffing changes and the accessing of 17 licensed staff and 7 non-licensed staff. So it was some significant changes just for the staffing at Bancroft prior to the start of this school year. And so I don't anticipate any major changes like that for us. I think our budget will be pretty status quo to what it is currently. But we do also want to get input from our new community, or our current community, which I still kind of consider a new community, but our community that we have now, and to gather some input for our budget making decisions upcoming. And then we have 3 weeks and we have to turn our budget in on March 4th. And so that's when we call it budget tie out. And so we'll run it through our instructional leadership team. We'll bring it out to the whole staff. Everyone will have their input, and then we'll make our final budgeting decisions and turn it in on March 4th. Brianna, is there anything else that we talked about? I think that might be it, aside from the caregiver equity group. Oh, I did want to highlight, somebody brought up cross-country skis. So I did put it in the newsletter. Mr. Maxwell, if you haven't met him yet, he's our PE teacher, and he's a huge skier. He's on like the Buck Hill race team. He does lessons. He's all about outdoor sports. So he's a big downhill skier. He's a big mountain biker. Some pretty cool stuff. And he always goes out of his way to bring in, things from the PE department. And so right now we have our cross-country skis. So our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders are strapping on their boots and getting into their skis, and they go out on our field and cross-country ski. And fortunately or unfortunately, when they plow the blacktop, they make these little mounds. And so he uses those too as little hills that the kids can try and climb up or ski down. So it's really a lot of fun to watch them try skis on for either the first time, or there's some kids that are total pros. And so it's fun to have that. And then we also, speaking of some partnerships or grants, we have a great opportunity for our 4th and 5th graders upcoming. The entire grade level of 4th and 5th are going skiing at Highland Hills on March 4th. And so it's completely free. Team Gilboa is sponsoring both grade levels, so they get a free equipment, free day pass, and then a free lunch. And so it's really kind of cool for our 4th and 5th graders to try something completely new. And so they'll have instructors out there, and they'll be teaching our kiddos how to downhill ski over at Highland. So go ahead, Brianna. I don't know.
Great.
I
I don't have anything additional besides the caregiver and community equity group. So from our equity team, we've talked about this a few times. We did get a date on the calendar, even with our couple of hiccups with jumping into online learning, but we got it down for February 10th. So that'll be this Thursday at 5:30. So we have been promoting and catching people at drop off, and really hoping that we can pull a group and The main goal is to co-create something with the Bancroft community and then hopefully kind of release it. So currently Mr. L. Chalanga Langason, who is one of our student support professionals, is kind of heading it up. And the hope is to kind of get started and then find some parent leaders who want to take it on and continue to move the work forward. So that will be Thursday evening. We're excited.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the updates. Yeah, I'm excited for this caregiver and community equity group. Glad it's looming is not the right word. Glad it's on the horizon. Glad it's almost here. Glad it's arriving. So yeah, I hope and that the what's the word? The ambassadorializing, is that even a word of it? Like the idea that when people are coming and going, pick up and drop off, you're talking to them. We did have that idea last meeting of having some parents sort of do similar activities to sort of help socialize some of the PTO projects. And I think if folks become active with this group, I'm hoping that'll help build a model for new ways that parents can sort of become active, regardless of whether they come to PTO or whatnot. I know it's strange without having the public events for us to make those connections. So I would like to see if some of that socializing helps build that behavior among our parent and caregiver community. Brianna, you unmuted. Do you have a comment back?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that we are really working towards and have not figured it out, I guess, but we're trying to figure out is in what ways can we ensure that we're creating a safe space for our families of color as well, and trying not to just trying not to just do what we've always done, because we've seen that hasn't worked always. You know, if we look at our PTO, if we look at various different meetings, and so just trying to figure out what the best way is to really reach out to all families and try to get people into the building, but online and just wanting to be part of something. And so that's just one of the things that we've had conversations about and really trying to figure out how to be intentional about that piece too. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if we're going to use PTO as example, since we're all sitting here right now, we consistently pull somewhere between 12 and 17, would we say? And I think at least my first year on, we were up in the 20s and 30 numbers when it was an in-person thing, when it was normal numbers. So it'd be interesting to figure out how do we get to that again. But thank you for that. I did have a couple of follow-ups. One really easy follow-up: student-led conference night, separate from the conference nights that are coming up here late February. That's my takeaway from that. Are student-led conferences just fourth, fifth graders, third, fourth, fifth? Brianna, you're raising your hand.
I just wanted to clarify. Sorry, no, I just was choking on my tea. Clarify that it's a half day of conferences, so the teachers will reach out to. They don't conference with every student during that day, or with every family. That's a half day on the day after President's Day. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact date. And then student-led conferences are the whole school. It's everyone. And that will be in an evening later in March. So there are not evening conferences in February. It's just a half day conference. And then everybody has a conference, a student-led conference that's open for the whole school, high five through fifth grade in March.
Okay, thank you. That's info that I probably missed the first time around because I wasn't listening. So thank you for that clarification.
Do we know when we'll know what day that is? Just as somebody who works nights, thinking of other people who also work nights to be able to request off, how soon will we know what that date is?
I'm about 90% sure it's going to be March 24th.
Okay. Boo. That's a nice.
Because it's right before, it's towards the end of third quarter. It's right before spring break.
Okay.
And so I think I've tentatively scheduled March 24th.
Okay.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Oh no, I was like, thank you. That's really good to know. And yeah, I would say is on behalf of people who work nights, as soon as we can get that out to people, that's
cool. So
other people might.
This is great. I didn't have this on my radar, and probably because my first year here, it didn't get to happen because we went into lockdown. And as a group, as you know, we are in the very early stages of gearing up for our virtual family involvement night, which would have preceded spring break. but perhaps we're going to over-program that particular week. If there's already an evening school event, we probably do not want to put our virtual family night on that same week because then it causes problems with people's schedules. Is that's a fair statement? I'm getting a lot of head nods, nonverbal cues, so that's totally fine. I think we will, given that, push to April because I don't want to. We got May, we got plant sale. I just want to make sure that we spread it out so that things happen and no one's overworked. So we'll look at April as a possible thing, and we'll make sure to make room for the March conferences.
I did want to, sorry, Paul, I did want to add one more thing. And I forgot to mention this. Our second FAM or family activity menu came out. That was the other thing that was on Brianna's list. And so again, we put out one in January. Hopefully people got it in their hands and started to work on some of the things. I think the online learning piece might have helped people during that time. And then we put the February one out last week along with report cards and the newsletter. And so again, we said, let's put it out there. Let's get some feedback afterwards. So the second month came out and maybe, in March, early March, we'll try and get some feedback around the family activity menus and what people are thinking about that and what any suggestions for changes or things that we just need to throw out or keep. So I wanted to throw that piece out there too.
Yep. Nope. Thank you for that reminder about that. I hope everyone's been enjoying the family activity menus.
Sorry, Paul, but can I just jump in really quickly on?
Yeah, go for it.
We all kind of nodded about April, but I just checked calendars, and April is Ramadan for I think the entire month, and also Passover. So we might want to actually think about March, just because I think with evening holiday activities that might be kind of tough for people.
Gotcha. Let's do this. Let's put a pin in that. I do want to come back to this. I got a couple of follow-ups for Diego, and then as you'll notice, I've got an item here called Showcasing Specialists, which I am hoping that becomes part of this virtual family night that we schedule whenever it happens to be. And that sort of will also inform the timeline. But Diego, if you don't mind, one of the follow-ups just regarding, you've got site council the same night as the book drive, that's February 24. You mentioned that you're not anticipating too many changes to a budget for coming school year. Does that mean staffing levels are going to sort of stay the same and the resources we have available to us are going to stay the same, or are we able to sort of communicate up to the district that maybe we could use a little more?
That's we could always use a little more, people.
Yeah, no, I know, absolutely. I was trying to be very diplomatic with my words because I know this is being live streamed.
So I mean, it's always hard to tell until I actually get the money, or not the money, but the budget, the numbers in my hands. And so right now I'm just predicting. I have my enrollment projections. We're projected right around the same amount. 15 to 20 kids less. We're projected around the same amount of classrooms. That's one piece where I'm trying to negotiate a little bit because it's a long story and I can talk about it at site council, but I'm trying to negotiate up a little bit to get a little more funding for my classroom positions, because classroom positions sometimes aren't fully funded. So let's say, for example, I need 3 classrooms, I might get funded for 2.7. And so then somewhere within my budget, I need to find a 0.3 to buy up to have the full classrooms. And so that's a whole different conversation that I need to have with my associate superintendent and the enrollment people. And so that's one conversation I still want to have because I want to get funded more for my classrooms. Our free and reduced is going to be a little bit higher than what was projected last year. Last year, we were projected at 41 or 42%. And we're currently sitting between 48 and 50%. And so I anticipate our compensatory ed and Title I money to be a little bit higher, but also it's going to be traded off, I guess, with the lower enrollment. So like the 15 to 20 kids. So I don't anticipate major changes. And I do think it's going to be pretty status quo. I could always use more money in my budget to have more associate educators or another intervention teacher, buy up my nurse full time, get my psych to be more time. I mean, I would always love more money.
Yeah.
In my budget.
No, absolutely. Thank you. So, and that's one of the other numbers that we're interested in hearing about is when a school's at 90% of its community zone attendance, whether or not, that informs how many more folks they allow from out of zone. And I'm not really sure what our number is, whether we are at that threshold where they would allow fewer out of zone in terms of new transfers or just kindergartner kids. As you know, one of the things that we were, as a PTO, have been sort of communicating out is that we were interested in getting an increase out of zone. In part to grow enrollment, in part to bring in tuition dollars, in part to grow budget. As I understand, one of the ways you negotiate is to round up. And my son is in rounding right now. We're working through rounding in grade 2, so I totally understand rounding. Diagramming rounding is what I'm understanding. Because that's my new joke. Math mountains used to be my joke. Now it's diagramming rounding and ungrouping. Anyway, point is, I wonder if the effort to grow our out of zone attendance might be counteractive to the rounding up of numbers, and we just end up being, again, short staffed or short on resources if we added more students without an increase, a compensatory increase in budget. Does that make sense?
Brianna thinks so. She'll address that.
I understand what you're saying. I guess what I was going to address is I think that the effort should be focused more on growing the in boundary attendance with the students who are slotted to go to kindergarten or those who are moving into the area and promoting that, as there's many students who are in our area who go outside of Minneapolis public schools. Go ahead, Diego.
I was going to say, and I don't want to compete necessarily with the magnets or other MPS schools, but that's another area of where, our student body could grow as students who currently go to a magnet and get bused through Minneapolis when they could either walk or ride their bike to Bancroft as a community school. And I know, everyone has their choices and of where they want to go to school or feel they should go to school. But I think, like Brianna said, I think getting our students who are within our area or any other students who maybe have gone to a magnet or currently go to a magnet and want a different community school option. And I think that's what we've been told as administrators, is that that's where our focus should be. And, kids have the better choice of getting into their community school or a magnet.
I would also just say that I think we could solicit all we want outside of our boundary. I mean, we saw it last year, how many wanted to attend Bancroft and then how many were not able to stay. And I guess, I don't know what the right words are. I don't think as a school, we have a lot of control over that. And so I think soliciting outside of our boundaries doesn't really get us what we would maybe hope it would.
Nope. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Nope. Thank you for that. And then just for clarification, when you say 15 or so under, are we going 400 to 385? Or are we going 430 to 415? Which is the 15 under count that you're talking about?
Good question. So it would be 385 down to 365.
Got it.
Because high fivers are not included in our enrollment projections. And so currently we're sitting at 406 kids, but basically 53 of those are high fivers. And so those kiddos are not included they're never included in our enrollment projections. So the 385 that we were projected for this year does not include high five. And so we were actually a little bit below that. So they're going off of our current 363 or whatever we're at.
Okay.
That doesn't include high five.
All right. Great. Thank you very much. Okay. I'm going to transition to less math. Sorry, Lisa. Where are you? There you are. And I'm going to pick up follow-up discussion number 1, showcasing specialists. So as you know, we sort of discussed briefly the 2 times that we brought it up, the upcoming or the next virtual family night that we try to produce would include more content beyond just a bingo, assuming it's even a bingo. Like we knew that people sort of dug the dance party notion and the scavenger hunt notion. We knew what that really told us was we needed more filler activity between whatever the main activity was. And again, we don't know if it's bingo or not. Tana's in the meeting. Great. But one of the ideas was that filler content would be showcasing specialists. And so I did want to sort of get that on the, and see if I can get a response a little bit from Diego and Brianna about the notion. Is that a possibility? How, because I think there are 5 specialists that I've sort of earmarked: Spanish, music, PE. Yeah, I'm counting Spanish in there as well, but and in the past years we had arts night where there was a choral performance and band played something and right. What's the reality of that now that we're into February? We haven't really made any actual headway, and I am saying I can come in and do things. I can probably recruit some other parents to do some captures or ask, hand a camera to a teacher to do some captures and figure out how to create content that we would showcase at this family involvement night. What do you think, Brianna? And Lisa as well. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a possibility. I think that we would probably have more success in figuring out how to like have you come in and like you had said, like record something or versus asking our specialist teachers to be like, we can't require them to be there in an evening.
No,
You know what
absolutely.
I
It
mean?
would,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, okay.
It's not going to be a live feed. It would essentially be all canned content that we just drop in when we need, making sure that we showcase each of the specialties. So, for example, if band had a performance that they were gearing up for already, like from a curriculum standpoint, they already were going to have a piece. Well, let's get that recorded, and that becomes something that we could showcase to. I don't know if that's even going to get out to the whole school. I don't know if there is a band performance. Music is the same thing. It wouldn't it be great if we highlighted one of the Spanish classes, and the idea would be across our grades. Maybe we pick a specialist that's to a grade, so it's performative in a way. I would prefer that it was already in the curriculum so that it's not something that has to be specially programmed for, and it's really just a matter of getting a date to us on PTO, and one of us shows up with a camera, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the notion. I didn't want to put any more work on the specialists' tables, but I did want to highlight them because they're special. It's in their name.
Absolutely. And actually, yeah, we were talking today about ways to showcase even art in our art hallway and going through that. So I think the logical next steps for that piece would be I can take on just connecting, and I'll connect with Sue and Lisa too, because they also meet on the specialist team. But I can connect with the specialists and kind of run some ideas past them. We actually have a specific meeting tomorrow morning that I can jump into and talk with them a little bit about it and just see kind of their thoughts and what they're thinking. And then I could get back to you by the end of the week.
That would be great. That would be great. And I think if the potential for forward progress is there, and Laura, my wife, really hates it whenever I see that because she says you're not even doing anything. Well, there's potential for forward progress. Anyway, if it's there, then I think that kind of informs how we time out our virtual family night that we're gearing up for.
Sure.
March was an earmarked time that theoretically gives us let's pretend 2 weeks into February and 2 weeks into March to produce something, or for me to visit, or for another parent to visit. I mean, I certainly don't want to lock anyone else out. I'm sure everyone's got Steven Spielberg. They believe they're the next Steven Spielberg and want to produce something. Okay, we'll take that as direction. So, given that, so the idea of March versus April, or March versus May, even maybe we will have a special. We'll just do an email discussion over this. We're pending what Brianna learns at tomorrow's meeting and brings back to me by the end of the week. So we've got the end of the week. Is that a good timeline for folks? Does that feel like we can find direction? And Michelle, thank you again. You do a much better job than I at keeping track of things that are not in my wheelhouse. So thank you for pointing that out.
That's being a religious minority, growing up as a religious minority. So you're welcome.
Okay, piano playing in the cafeteria. I put that out there only because Sue brought up the idea there's a piano. Someone should play it. So this is really an announcement to anyone here who is a Billy Joel, or anyone who's watching the stream. And there are like 20 to 30 people who actually watch the stream, and it's not all me. I'm not the one just clicking on the numbers. Someone's actually watching this stuff. So this is just really an announcement to folks. We got a piano. They want to know if it's tuned, and the only way to know if it's tuned is if somebody plays it. So if somebody would like to come in and play it at pickup or drop off, right? Sue? I think Sue said drop off. That would be great. Subs and Interventions is not a World War II movie. It's just a discussion. I know we sort of discussed it very minutely, the notion of our subs doing the idea of our interventionists, the math, and are they able to do what they do, right, and not just sub, right? And I just wanted to put a close lid on it. If it's a discussion that's not even worth having anymore, are we in a good place in terms of classes being covered by the people who are supposed to be covering them, so that the other people can do the things that they're supposed to be doing? And if that's the case, we're good. And if it's not the case, how can PTO help? That's really the reason why I'm keeping an eyeball on it, because of other discussion elsewhere in other schools. And really, I want to get a sense of that here.
Yep, I would say that right now we're good, and people are able to do. I mean, Lisa is on here, and she's one of the people that was being pulled in 17 million different directions. And I think right now we are in a good place. And so I want to knock on a lot of wood, but we do have some sub positions that have been picked up this week. We have sub positions that were picked up for next week. And so we are able to, like I said in my update, we don't have 17 staff members out and trying to keep a school together. And so we are in a much better place than we were.
Okay. Great. Yep. Thank you. And thank you, Lisa. You don't have to clone yourself any longer. And Diego and Brianna being in classrooms. My son, he mentioned, why I can't remember which one of you, but he said, I was teaching today, and he was like all surprised. I'm like, what are you surprised? They were teachers.
Yeah, Brianna's taught her fair share, and I've picked up a class here or there, not as much as they have, but I mean, we all got to chip in when.
Yep.
It's not ideal, but we're there for the kids and families to keep the school running. So.
All right, great. Thank you. I will not bring it up any longer until someone else tells me to, but thank you for the continued follow-up on that. So
Paul,
yes,
sorry,
go ahead.
really quick. I just want to make sure that you saw that Justin had put in the chat that he has a time-sensitive vote on the plant sale stuff that we have to get to. I don't know if it's in the agenda already.
It
okay,
is.
I just want to make sure that
why don't we go there first?
Okay. I was sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure.
Actually, well, tell you what, let's okay, let's go. Well, we got book drive coming up here. No, okay, that's fine. Let's go here.
So shouldn't take so long. So if you want to follow your agenda, you can.
No. Let's do it. As I understand it, from plant sale, we've got. First of all, Kimberly and Justin, thank you for taking the lion's share of this. I mean, this is great. And Kimberly put out a big email to board with details. I'm not going to go through too many of the details, since a lot of the details are really Diego, Brianna, and Kimberly, Justin. But PTO, we need to sort of be on the ball about organizing volunteers, because it is a little scout troop of volunteers are going to be needed. And I did want clarification about whether we needed. If it's 11 per pickup window, like the email says, and that's 2 pickup windows plus the cleaning crew, are we going to need another set just for setup the day before? That was clarification I was going to look for today, Justin. And then the other thing, the one that's vote, is this information. And Justin, I'm going to I put this here for folks to just read, but Justin, the floor is yours to talk about the vote on how we do the sale.
Okay, I'll just address that first, and then if you want to repeat your question for the clarification, that so I can understand it, that'd be great. I just didn't quite get that, but yeah. So we thought that, I apologize. We thought we had it worked out with our plant supplier, the nursery, that they would be able to. So they have a catalog of items that runs in the hundreds of different things that they offer. And we had thought that we clarified with them that they can just pull out everything except what we want to offer. So we don't have hundreds of different plants that, somebody bought 2 of these and somebody bought 1 of these. And we just have, mass, it just becomes unwieldy at some point. So we want to narrow the scope of what we offer. And we had thought that we could do that by individual item. And so we could just offer an assortment of 40 or so, like we normally do items for on sale online. Now, unfortunately, they can't do that. They can only take out, we'll say, buckets of different things or categories of different items. So that leaves us with 2 options. If we go the online route, so people can order online, place their order online and pay with a credit card, that means that when we limit the items, it will be a smaller assortment of items, but there'll be more colors. So there'll be 7 or 8 different kinds of geraniums, right? You know, different colors. So that takes up a large chunk of things. So we'll have a lot less variety of items, but more colors, if that makes sense. So that's if we do the online portion of it. We would still have an offline paper offering for equity's sake, for folks that don't have the ability or the resource to access offline. The other way to do it would be offline only. It'd be the way that we've traditionally done plant sale every year, which is kids go home with a paper order form. We have a number of different items, and that you can then fill out the form. How many of each do you want? That gets submitted. Then we tally everything and we place one big order with the supplier. It's a little more compiling than the online aspect of it, but then we can offer exactly what we want to offer. So we can offer 40 or 50 different items, and they aren't all, you know, one type of thing. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's what we need to vote on, whether we want to just go ahead and do traditionally how we've done it with just the paper sales and people pay by cash or check, or if we really want to include that online component, and then that just means that we have slightly less amount of variety in what we offer. There'll still be about 40 to 50 different offerings in each case.
Justin, do you have a sense of like what is, I don't know the lack of a better word, like what's easiest on you and Kimberly, or like what is the easiest way to go in?
Kimberly said she didn't have a preference either way. I would say that just from the sake of, we know how to do it the way we've done it in the past, that might simply be easier because we have that established as institutional memory. We know how that's run like that. I don't think it'll be too much different. It mostly comes down to, what do we want to offer people in the fundraiser? You know, do we want to offer a little bit more variety so people can get, you know, a little more veggies, a little more of this, whatever, in terms of different variety, or do we want to just have a few less, I guess, choices, for lack of a better word? That's what it comes down to. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of difference in terms of what's easier, because we have to limit either way what people get. We can't offer the whole catalog of what they offer to families, because it's just, that would be too much. Does that answer your question?
She thumbed up. Yeah. So I don't know if this helps the discussion at all, but a large part of our communities, this would be new to them anyway, unless the old way of doing it was the way other schools would do it also. You know, so we liked the notion. We explored online sales with the fall sale, and it seemed to be a convenience, so it wasn't a big sale. It sounds like there would still be a good assortment regardless between the choices. It's not like people would not find something they'd be interested in. And so part of me is wanting to recommend in an uninformed kind of way, because I'm relying on Justin and Kimberly to go with the more ways to pay, to reduce paperwork, if it's still a good assortment anyway. Does that make sense? It's still going to be a good assortment of choices anyway. No one's going to be left out of whether they wanted more vegetables or more. You can tell I'm a gardener.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's still going to be about the same amount of offerings, but I think when we're taking out those buckets, we're looking at, what are they have them in like pots. So you have like whatever, the little 2.5-inch pots for, you know, annuals, and then you have X amount of things. So they if we choose that, then that's the one section we have. And then that means maybe we have to get rid of, you know, another section. So in either case, we should have about the same amount of offerings. It's just like I said, the variety will be less if we go with the online version. And according to the people at the nursery, at our level of PTO sales, that's what people, they do the traditional way of the paper and they compile it and send one big order, and that's the way it works like that. If you're like, say, the Friends school, they do a huge one every year. They're like the biggest game in town for plant sale, and they just buy flats and flats and flats of everything. I think they have a giant school grounds, and they just put out everything. It's just ginormous, right? But they're huge. That's a huge thing. We're just getting what we basically sell, what people pay for in advance in either case. So yeah, you're right though. Like, there's going to be about the same amount of offerings. It's just, do we want more variety of things? Will that make people be more interested in buying more things? Or will people be like, well, there's like 5 things here and they're all the same. I only need one of them, That's what we have to decide.
Any other follow-up questions for Justin or discussion?
I'll say, as a gardener, I go for the option that has more variety. I prefer more variety over convenience as somebody who buys and grows plants.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Lisa, you had your hand raised as well.
I'm actually really interested to see what happens this year, because we haven't had the plant sale now for a while. I mean, it's been a little bit, and I don't know. I mean, I think the potential is really there for a big plant sale. But I'm also not the one compiling that. I think it is a lot of work. Justin's being, I think, really, really nice about it. It is a ton of work. So I mean, I think I defer to them if they're willing to do it, and we can maybe offer more, but I also totally would understand if they want, to switch it to the other form.
Great. Yep. Thank you, Lisa, for that. I'm just going to look quickly at chat. Anybody else have anything else you want to mention before we take this to a vote? All right. So it's really the question is online and offline. Fewer assortment, more colors of what that is, versus offline, more different items, I guess. So more assortment. 1 for online, offline, 2 for offline only. If you wouldn't mind putting in the chat, please. Who are we missing? There's 12 of us here. Not counting me, that's 11. Brianna and Diego, I know you tend to not vote. I think you ought to be able to vote. Lisa, you should be voting. Really, I'm the only one not voting because I'm chairing.
I've never voted. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I swayed one vote prior, but I've never voted. So personally, I like the online opportunity to purchase online, but I order a lot of stuff online.
All right, I think that's, I'm not going to do the math on this, but I mean, yeah, the 2s carry. I don't think we need I think a plurality is fine. I don't know if we need a necessary majority of this. So yeah, let's go 2s carry. We're going offline only. Is that good direction, Justin?
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you. The follow-up question I had, did you need volunteers for setup window? The email read like you needed 11 volunteers per pickup window, but I wasn't sure how many you needed or how many is appropriate for setup. So how many should we look for the delivery of the items in terms of volunteers?
I would say roughly about the same. Basically, as many bodies as we can get in there. And I think, I don't know, we basically had about that the last time we did the plant sale. I think there's about a dozen people there, including some staff would help out too, I think a little bit. I think Lisa and Sue both helped out. I think Diego was there helping out. So, I mean, yeah, as many as we can get, really. It's just because all the stuff comes at once, and then it's just a matter. It's kind of hectic because we've got to sort it all into a way that it makes sense. But we've got a plan, I think, on how it's going to be set up. I think it's all going to work really well. People will come in, they'll go through basically a winding sort of line and pick up their plants as they go. There'll be people checking them in at one end, and then after they go through the lines, checking their planters and make sure they've got all their stuff there at the end, and then various other helpers and stuff. And so I think it'll help because the plant nursery will also supply us with boxes. I think we have to pay for them, but they're pretty cheap. And that's great. So each individual family will get a box or 2 or 3 or however many they need to put all their plants in to carry them out. And that's kind of been a thing in the past where we've kind of co-opted projector carts and whatever else, anything that could possibly hold multiple items, bags, sacks. So this way, I think it'll be nice. It's just what you would get at the nursery anyways, are these little flats that you can stick all your plants in and bring them home with you. So as far as all the nuts and bolts of that are great. This was just an important thing because we have to get we have to send the order forms, the paper order forms out to be printed here by the end of this month. So appreciate everybody weighing in on this and letting us know which way to go.
Great. Nope. Thank you, Justin, and make sure you let Kimberly know we're saying thanks as well for the work. So I think I'm just sort of saying this out loud because I know I'm going to forget that as part of our communication push, we should start working in we should be planting the seeds for volunteers for the spring sale. How's that? All right. Okay. Having said that, let's move on. Bancroft Book Drive and Exchange. So it's live. We've got a box. One of the things I did have an open question is where is the stuff that we already have that we need to sort of push? Robin has volunteered to help empty the donation box on Tuesdays, and I'll do Thursdays. And we just need to know where to put stuff. And so that's a question to Diego and Brianna. Where is the existing pile of books that never went last book exchange? Any idea?
The existing pile of books, they're in boxes in a room where I don't want more books added. We can put some tables, we can set up some tables in on the stage. The door is closed, and so that's where we'll want to have the book exchange. So that's where we'll start putting.
Oh, so we could start piling them in the weeks prior. Okay.
Yep.
That works. Okay,
Yep.
Great. So Nicole's not here, so I'll connect with her offline, well, online, theoretically. How do we get a hold of the Moon Palace Bookstore books? And if I can get a bead on that, we'll just direct them right away to the stage. So Rob, when you go in tomorrow, I maybe it's just something for you to eyeball. There's already, like, last I saw, there were like 7 books in the thing or 6 books in the box, but
Oh, there's a whole bunch more. I mean, now that
Yeah.
it went out in the newsletter and things like that, I mean, I even brought 2 big bags of books for my house, and
oh, there we go.
so there's a lot already.
So Robin, you just eyeball it however you need, and I'll just follow your direction on Thursday, whatever you do on Tuesday. All
That
right.
sounds good. I should still be able to do that tomorrow. I've got a sick kiddo, so if my plan changes,
Totally fine. Yep, totally fine. And so we've answered that question. So we might not need the volunteers for 223 if we're sort of presetting as we go. So let's take that off the table, but let's I don't need everyone to sort of jump at me right now, but we are looking for people to staff the table 224. And the question is hours. What are our hours of operation? I don't think I have any clarity on that. Diego, Brianna, is it as soon as doors open to as soon as doors shut, or are we looking for a shorter window of time in between during the day that classes will start filtering through the stage?
Yeah, so I think that was one of the things that I said the school would take on is getting the schedule. I wouldn't imagine anything being earlier than 9:30, just to give classrooms a chance to settle in and eat breakfast and do their morning meetings. So I wouldn't anticipate anything earlier than 9:30, and then nothing later really than 2:45 or 3 o'clock. So then kids can pack up their things and be ready to go with closing circles and be ready by the end of the day. So.
And how long do kids sort of spend as they cycle through? I don't remember that from last time.
Well, some kids could spend all 6.5 hours down there looking at books. And I think, so I would say probably a 15-minute block for each class, just to kind of have them peruse through there. That's, I haven't crunched out those numbers, but I'm thinking kind of like a picture day type schedule.
Yeah.
Where they're
Okay.
a 15 to 20-minute block and they kind of cycle in and out.
And the reason I'm asking is because I would like to get an email out to parents to organize who's going to be able to do 9:30 to 10:30, who's going to do 10:30 to 11:30. And I think it sounds like really the safe bet for me is just use hourly sessions. Is probably the safest way to go at
I
this
think
point.
that's fair to say, yeah.
All right, hourly sessions for a 5-hour block. Okay, I can certainly get that organized. Great. So that's that. This is an exciting time.
One question for that one.
Go ahead.
So in anticipation that there may be books remaining, what should we do with those?
Diego takes them home. I thought that was the understanding.
Right? Just load them up in your
Yep.
in your vehicle.
So my wife is the founder of a nonprofit called the Story Orchard. So I'll throw in a little plug for her little business. And so she does collect a number of books and then donates them to schools. And we've gotten some books from her, her company, her Story Orchard. And she also stocks new teacher classrooms. And so people reach out to her and they come and peruse her little office of books and take whatever they want. And so I can take extra books and donate them to the Story Orchard, or we can keep them on hand. Last year during our family fun fest, family end of the year event, we had 3 giant tables out with books for kids to take home over the summer break. And so that's something that we could do. That's why we still have boxes upon boxes of books in one of our little rooms, because those were the leftover books, and we're more than happy to get books in kids' hands.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
And one thing I would say, and I know we're not there quite yet, but maybe, sometimes books that do come across the table may not always be the most culturally sensitive or any of those pieces. So I would just ask 2 of the volunteers that if they see any books or things like that to kind of set them to the side, or if there's anything questionable. I'm not one for like super censorship, but I know there's also some books that shouldn't be celebrated and given to kids, so I want to make sure that we are cognizant of that piece too.
All right, good deal. And I'm glad you brought up, we're not going to tackle that issue now, but whether or not there is going to be a Family Fun Fest, that was new to us last year. It was kind of a great hit.
So when we were talking about PTO budgeting, I think that would be one really kind of cool thing to put some PTO budget towards, since it's money from families and a celebration of families. And so I think that would be one suggestion that I would have. Bancroft, back when I started, used to have a really nice carnival. And then it went away, and a lot of our carnival games and things like that are no longer in working order. So that might be something to think about. I know we hardly had any carnival games at the Family Fun Fest, and it was still, even though it was 103 degrees or something like that, it was still a really fun event that we had. But that could be something to think about as a PTO.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I'm hearing is, you've cracked the door open to another Family Fun Fest. So I'm really slamming that door way open. Let's do it. Let's make it a thing. Not this month. Let's work on it next month. Tana?
Sorry, Tana. It was fantastic. So, I mean, it was a celebration of our time together and people going off in different directions throughout Minneapolis. So I thought it was a fantastic event.
Yeah, it was great. I would like to see that become a thing, not just a one-off because it was CDD and it was pandemic, but like something that does truly allow us to celebrate Bancroft. Okay, great. Any other comments regarding Bancroft Book Drive? All right, moving on. We did that. All right, so I think this is more. I don't know if we have. I mean, yes, I would like to put on the table just open discussion, possible teacher strike. again, I'm just as PTO wanting us to sort of being aware of what happens in the real world, and we're not just this vacuum of let's do books and let's, what can we do in terms of experientially? How else? I'm putting on my hat as an advocate for parents and caregivers, and what role do we play, or should we play, or can we play, if the situation were to come up? And I know I'm bringing up how PTO had an active role during the CDD discussions in helping keeping our constituents sort of informed and just abreast of the news in a way that they could digest and take away and take action on. And I think we did the same thing with the work to rule issue that was during 2020, 2021. It was at fall 2020 when the work to rule thing sort of came to a head, just in terms of keeping up with information. I certainly am not looking at PTO getting involved necessarily in labor negotiations. That's not really a role, but it is a role to sort of let our parents know what's up. How can they be active? How can they make the decisions that they need to make? So I did just want to have an open discussion on it, and I did have some links here that I put out in the letter that we sent by email and on Facebook. So people who maybe just didn't know what was up, this is the latest news in terms of what's public. I know there's more updates. As I understand, there's a meeting going on tonight. I had invited our building reps to address PTO, but they weren't able to make it because of this meeting. So I imagine there's going to be some updated information coming out of that meeting. One of the things I did want to mention from a PTO standpoint, something that is real that we can do, is just encourage folks to sign up for our family directory in a way that it would allow families to stay in touch. And I'm a big proponent of it. I think it was helpful to us in second grade. We coordinated over the online learning to do some play dates. Some of our families coordinated during their quarantine time, so I know it kind of helped there. So if there is a disruption due to these real world events, having folks in the family directory would just be helpful to them, I imagine. So I am bringing that up. Where we are in place and time. I wish Sue was here because I really wanted her to see that I was using an IB theme. I could have said how the world works, but that would have been really depressing. But anyway, so for folks that are watching the live stream, where we currently are is that union members will vote whether to strike on these dates. So they've got 3-day window to do that. 50% plus 1 vote means that the strike is approved. There's a 10-day cooling off period, and that during that cooling off period could be possible mediation time. So maybe a strike is still averted, and if it's not averted, the earliest of the strike could occur would be March 2, would it come to that. So that's the timeline that we're at. I did, for the sake of the live stream, want to put this up. This is what's the word I'm looking for? These are the desires. These are the asks. I know there's a better word. I'm neither
Talking
a gardener.
points.
Talking points.
Talking
Thank you.
point.
I'm neither a gardener nor a teacher in a union, so I don't have the right vocabulary. But these are the talking points. You'll notice I put up a link to MFT's strike page site, and I did put up a link to MPS's labor negotiation site so that people could sort of check it out. Although the MPS site has not been updated since October, so it's not, and these are certainly not comprehensive links by all means. So I've said my piece, I believe. I just wanted to give a chance to anyone who wanted to discuss or had questions or wanted to take PTO down a certain direction and thought that, thought whatever. This is really open discussion time. We've got some time. Diego did not get to go last, so open floor if anyone has any comments. Oh, and Michelle, yes, I see yep, let me do that for you right now.
I'm just wondering, I know, Paul, that you put stuff out through social media and the sort of traditional channels that have been available. Can we put a flyer together that goes out to kids that just says, this is happening, this is what's going on right now, there could be a strike at some point in the future, we want to let you know, as the PTO, we want to let you know. Diego, is that allowed? Can we do that? Just in same sort of information that has been put out, that is not taking a side either way, but it's just as Paul's saying, just that we want you to know that this could happen.
Let me, before Diego, I absolutely want you to respond. But let me just say, we do have plans to putting a flyer out specific to the family directory, and that we would color it such a way that there is this pending strike on the menu. We would like to use this time in February, holy moly. This time in February to gather folks that want to have an active family directory so that you can connect. So there is going to be that. But having said that, okay, Diego, absolutely. If you've got comments to Justin's question specifically, the floor is yours. Or Brianna.
I don't know. I mean, I think that as far as the flyer, I mean, I can get more information and find out. I know a lot of our flyers, whether they're Taekwondo or Boy Scouts or any Girl Scouts or any of those things, are approved through the district. And so I don't know, and I'll get more information.
Thank
Great.
you.
You unmuted. I don't know if you had anything to
Yeah,
add.
no, I mean, I would just say, I would, I guess, echo what Diego said. And if in the event that there was anything that would be able to go out, I would want to wait until after for more time, just to see kind of where things land, especially if it's coming from the school. Just so we have more information, we would know what the vote is, whether it was approved or not, and kind of go from there. So that would just be my thoughts.
All right. Any other questions or discussion points? Okay, Michelle, I'll take a look. Anyway, the family directory link, would anyone else like to give that a click and see if they're getting errors on it? And that's certainly something that we could check. Your next newsletter, Diego, is not Thursday, but a week from, correct? Yeah. So that, I think, is when we would time our first inkling of this, and the newsletter would contain family directory join link as well as book drive. I mean, that's our two things for October are get people in the directory and give us your books so that we can give them to someone else. So we can give them back to Diego.
It's also still February, not October.
Yep, still February.
I know. I don't know why am I still saying October? I don't really understand what's going on in my head. I think it's yes, I'm having an internal error, Michelle. That's what's happening. All right.
I found
Okay.
a link elsewhere and it's working. So I think something must just have been truncated from the.
Yeah, it could be I copy pasted incorrectly. So absolutely. It's not like copy pasting hasn't existed since the 1980s. Okay. So I will make sure we will double check when the link goes out. The link, and we'll have to check the link I put in Facebook for the family directory. That's all I've got for this meeting. We've got open floor for any new business, anything else that we need to take care of? The one on Facebook is good. Great. Thank you, Michelle. I'll just grab from there. I will say my son was disappointed that he couldn't ski, that it's a third grade thing. He saw the skiing things and he was all excited. And the reason he's excited is because I failed him as a father. Peter, I'm going to call you out again on this because I talked to him about the thing that you emailed about over at Hiawatha. And I said, I'm going to get you over there. And of course, me being the bumbling dad that I sometimes am, I was too late and you filled up. So then my son's like, oh, and I said, and then of course, right about the time I told him it filled up, we saw this thing about skiing at the school. I said, well, there you go. Of course. Look at that. And then my son comes home and says, Dad, no. So it's all on me. I totally get it. But all right. If there's no new business, I want to thank everyone for coming to tonight's meeting. I want to thank those online for viewing this, the 20 of you who must watch this while playing canasta or something. And I'll see you next month. There will be an email with some follow-ups, and that's all I got. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great night.